Greetings, welcome back to Black Bear News, where we are discussing abrupt climate change and other things occasionally. There is still smoke coming off that last video. But I want to just thank you all for hanging tough with me. There's a lot of, there's a wide spectrum of viewpoints on this channel. There is not necessarily one, column or pillar of thought, politically or economically or, whatever. There's all kinds of people on this channel. There are polar shift people. There are solar minimum people that wander in and hang out. And there's deniers that wander in and hang out. Listen, this is about discourse. This is about discussion. This channel is about abrupt climate change, but if you've been following me for any length of time, you've heard me say, I'm sure you've heard me say, this channel is also about truth and about trying to really look at the evidence of things. So if I bring you an idea or a concept, politically or climate related, that's outside of your belief system, I hope that you would give me the respect enough to at least consider what I have to say, without, whatever, immediately screaming at me. But it happens, that's what happens in the comment section. I mean, this is, I'm doing this channel as a service to people, as a service to myself, as a place for discussion. But this is my channel, and I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about, and I ruffle feathers. If I talk about, please treat people with respect, people, some people got annoyed and were like, I'm out of here. Clearly I'm not with your whole peace and love and open-mindedness about treating people with respect in the comment section. Okay. You're welcome back anytime. You're welcome to follow this channel anytime. If you got mad at me yesterday and unsubscribed and, got pissed off or upset that I'm talking about something other than climate change, you're welcome back anytime. You don't, whatever. I'm not, again, this is not a Gestapo. This is not a, my way or the highway type of situation, You can watch if you want to watch. You can disagree if you want to disagree. It's all good. I'm just, for the most part, I think, there's a wide range of viewpoints on this channel. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate you guys for hanging out. It's really hard for me to give detailed context for my political views in such a short time. I don't really have a lot of time, for these videos. Mostly I'm covering abrupt climate change. I generally try to give context for my political views by citing other journalists. If you have followed me, you know that I like Caitlin Johnson. You know that I like Glenn Greenwald, Jimmy Dore. They don't run with the MSM, the mainstream media narratives, but try to see through them. I value that kind of work. If you want to know where my viewpoints, my political viewpoints come from, please check any of these people out. Do I base all my beliefs on their work? Do I agree with everything that they do? I do not. But they're pretty closely aligned to where I'm at politically, which is that I question every single narrative the mainstream media puts out there, because it definitely mostly has an agenda. And if you follow this channel as well, that you believe in abrupt climate change. I believe in abrupt climate change. And the mainstream media isn't covering abrupt climate change, right? For what purposes? To keep us in the dark, to keep, business as usual going. If you're following this channel, you're a conspiracy theorist, right? There's a banner. Somebody just alerted me the other day that there's a banner on my channel, basically, linking, linking to an article in Wikipedia about climate change. So basically, they've labeled me as possibly fake news. So your belief and what we are talking about on this channel is viewed by the powers that be as possibly fake news. So you're a conspiracy theorist if you're here on some level. You believe in something that other people aren't allowed to think about or not supposed to look at, not supposed to believe in. So open minds, please. You know, again, this is repression on, you know, by the mainstream media, by the powers that be, by Google or Alphabet or whoever it is runs YouTube. You know, they're trying to squash dissenting viewpoints, dissenting opinions. And some of you might have your viewpoints and your opinions shaped by the exact same mainstream media. So, you know, I'm not telling you what to think. I'm telling you to question your thoughts. I'm telling you to question your opinions and beliefs. I'm asking you to question your opinions and beliefs. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. You know, this channel is about abrupt climate change. It's about finding the truth. You have to be willing to question your beliefs in order to do that. And just because you've accepted the truth about climate change doesn't make you an authority on all other issues. It doesn't make me an authority on all other issues. I'm trying to shake you up and offer some guidance about how to think about shit in these crazy times, right? Like, a lot of people are confused about what's going on. A lot of people are concerned, worried, upset, what's happening, what's going on. It's good to question information from all sides. And, you know, please do question my information. I'm still thinking about doing like a separate you know, political, you know, video, I guess, not channel, but on this channel, I might do some other political videos that I have been, you know, where I can just delve deeper into stuff and not have it, you know, get in the way of the abrupt climate change discussion. I don't know if you guys are into that or not. I don't know. I may try it out soon just to put some wheels on it and see how it goes. But, you know, there are things that interest me. There are things that I think are very, very important. You know, the reason why I brought up what I brought up yesterday is because, you know, in the past we've had presidents, let's say Bush, you know, like, who I think is still probably the most nefarious presidency we've ever had. I mean, he kind of oversaw 9/11, or he was here, or he was, you know, the point, I don't know, he was the point man, he was the president while 9/11 happened, and then took us straight into basically an illegal war in Iraq, built on an MSM narrative that later proved to be false. And there were millions of people in the streets all over the world saying, let's not do this. And I don't see millions of people in the street saying, let's not talk about peace, or let's not have summits about denuclearization. But the vehemence with which people are basically downplaying and attacking, you know, these summits or these talks, like, is almost on par with people being in the street like, no, we can't have this happen. Look, I'm going to be honest. I'm confused about the Trump presidency on many levels. I'm appalled by the Trump presidency on many levels. I'm just appalled also by other things that aren't being looked at. I'm appalled by activities by other nefarious players in the world that aren't being, you know, they're like, look over here, look over there, you know, let's get mad about this, but please don't look at what I'm doing. I'm just trying to shed a little bit of light on that. And, you know, if we're going to do anything meaningful about climate change or any other issue, it's going to have to be radical. We can't do it within the paradigm we're in. You know this is true. I'm stepping outside of what's comfortable for people, and just know that it's not random, haphazard. It's not me repeating some information that I just heard somewhere and I thought that was cool. You know, anything I speak about on this channel is something that I've thought about a lot. You know, people take me, you know, if I speak about chemtrails or the possibility of chemtrails, it's because I'm studying it, thinking about it, looking at it from all different directions, you know. Ultimately, it's reactionaryism that is a serious problem. And social media actually inflates this reactionaryism, right? The idea that we have to like spout immediately, like whatever we think about whatever. I mean, that's how comment sections run. That's how comment posts on other social media work, you know, is that people chime in, give their opinions, hive mind. We find, you know, hopefully some common ground and or, you know, better information. But at the same time, it'll, you know, it spurs people to just blah, react instead of taking in information and possibly thinking about it for a little while, and or maybe thinking about, how do I want to respond to this? How do I feel about this information? It doesn't lend itself to slowing down and thinking. And, you know, that's also something that I'm, you know, I see as a huge problem. You know, it's a huge problem because this is what social media, or this is what even the mainstream media works on, is the ability to hit you emotionally and you go, ah, no. And then there's no, you know, that's just what becomes the truth of whatever your opinion is. You know, there's no thought about it. It's just, you know, of course this is wrong. This is terrible. We must do something now. And then how much actually ever gets done? This is why I'm doing this channel. I mean, I'm speaking about climate change. I'm speaking about whether or not we can do anything about it. I'm speaking about whether or not, you know, what we should feel about it. How should we go forward in our lives, you know, based on the knowledge that we have. But, you know, everything is connected. Everything is connected. And so if I speak on, I speak on a lot of things. I speak on politics. I speak on psychology. I speak on, you know, at times we get into discussions about religion or the Bible or whatever. You know, I find it a little strange that people are in the comment section telling me, stick to climate change, man. Don't talk about anything else. This is my channel. This is what you're going to get. You're going to get all kinds of stuff. And I'm sorry if you don't like that. Mostly I'm talking about climate change, but everything is connected to the whole. If I do bring something outside of climate change onto this channel, please understand that I have thought about it a lot, that I have looked at it a lot, that I've really taken in the information and I've looked at it from all sides. Okay? Just please understand that. Like, I don't know, it's very strange to me that when, you know, someone respects somebody's opinion and then they start talking about something else, that you would immediately shut it down and not go, I respect this person's opinion. Maybe I should consider what they're saying. I don't know. I find a disconnect in that reaction. But again, I'm just asking you all to have an open mind. I'm asking you to go to the journalists that I stated earlier, do some research on your own. I'm going to link a debate between Joe, how do you pronounce his last name again? Joe Chirincione, who was in the article I linked yesterday, and Glenn Greenwald from Democracy Now! I think it's a very intelligent debate. I'm going to link that. Check it out. On to climate change news. This is from Truthout. From July 15th, wealth can't protect environmentally ravaged Silicon Valley from climate change. Much has been written about how the tech boom has contributed to exorbitant housing costs in the San Francisco Bay Area. Less reported has been the environmental impact of this boom, which includes suburban sprawl, severe traffic congestion, and other impending menaces. This is not surprising. PM Press, located in Oakland, California, has called its neighbor Silicon Valley the crown jewel of hyper-capitalism, and one thing capitalism does is pollute. The question here is whether the tech empire's power, money, governance, and green solutions can match the environmental challenge of Silicon Valley's smoggy sprawl. The challenge includes the need for an end to low-density development, fewer McMansions surrounded by acres of cosmetically sculpted land, more apartment buildings, and pollution controls, cleaner cars, inland parks, dealing with water shortages, and climate change in one of its most drastic forms. Wildfires, according to pictures of Gone City, Tech, and the Dark Side of Prosperity in the San Francisco Bay Area. This book portrays a region where boom and bust cycles are written into the landscape. Tech empire's environmental degradation. Although air pollution from traffic congestion and sprawl is the most visible environmental problem caused by Silicon Valley, there are others, according to Walker. Groundwater plumes of solvents have moved under working class housing areas near industrial zones, as Walker explains in a recent email to TruthOut. However, these plumes of solvents do not migrate to affluent Palo Alto or Menlo Park. It is the old story of proximity to environmentally hazardous industry causing working class neighborhoods and communities of color to be far more exposed to pollution than whiter and wealthier areas. There are hundreds of sites in Santa Clara County where solvents or other contaminants have been released to shallow soils and or groundwater, explains Vanessa de la Piedra, manager of the Santa Clara Valley Water District Groundwater Management Unit, in an email to TruthOut. However, cleanup at these sites is overseen by various regulatory agencies. Where these contaminant releases are located near residential areas, regulatory agencies may require additional monitoring and or mitigation to ensure residents are protected. She adds that these contaminated sites have limited impact on drinking water aquifers and that contaminant and solvent plumes are not unique to Silicon Valley, and groundwater can be impacted by various land use activities. Meanwhile, an area most affected by Silicon Valley's traffic-caused air pollution is the Central Valley to the east. In addition to an incoming tidal wave of middle and working class residents fleeing sky-high housing costs in Silicon Valley, the Central Valley absorbs emissions from mammoth traffic jams to the west. The Bay Area metropolitan region extends more than 150 miles north to south and 50 miles east to west, or around 7,000 square miles, an area larger than Connecticut and Rhode Island combined. According to pictures of a Gone City, most of this is sprawl, and Walker argues that sprawl pays its real estate investors, delivering profits through property investment and capital accumulation, rather than fulfilling the American suburban dream. He explains that property capital aims to stretch suburbia as far as possible because the highest profits come from land value appreciation, not from building houses. Sprawl causes traffic jams in California, emits vast amounts of carbon dioxide, second only to Texas in the US. According to Walker, in Silicon Valley, cars and trucks are the dirty mainstay of transportation, and they burn huge quantities of fuel, idling in traffic. Sprawl worsens things by causing long commutes. The bus and the rail systems are inadequate in a region where housing is far too dispersed in the low-rise metropolis. Meanwhile, construction in Silicon Valley just continues. The building boom caused by the tech explosion of the 2010s has surpassed the dot-com era, Walker writes, which added about 7.5 million square feet of new office space, the latest wave in depositing a square footage twice that thick. For Walker, Silicon Valley has been a planned sprawl, while its core is an industrial district from Stanford south to San Jose, west to Cupertino, in an area composed of endless drifts of tract housing, widespread deserts of asphalt, replicant shopping centers, and ribbons of freeways and expressways. Another problem is tech production pollutants from special metals, rare earth elements, and plastics. The Walker writes that most of the blight is felt elsewhere in the world due to globally far-flung supply chains. In the past, Silicon Valley used solvents to clean chips. but less so now. These days, soap and water are preferred. Finally, the waterways are polluted. Walker singles out the San Francisco Bay Delta, although he explains that for purposes of pollution, it is difficult to consider Silicon Valley apart from larger metropolitan area. Climate change won't spare Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley has swallowed its urban host as the tech economy spreads throughout the larger metropolis, Walker writes. The Bay Area has more tech corporations, more web portals, more IT startups, more venture capital, and more complex tech ecosystems than any place else on Earth. He sardonically calls it capitalism's shining star. Regarding the environment, the Silicon Valley capitalist behemoth overall espouses green tech and green solutions to environmental problems. Witness Elon Musk with Tesla. But self-driving electric cars will only resolve so much of our carbon pollution problems. While other theoretical tech solutions to climate change, such as seeding the atmosphere with sulfuric acid to reflect back sunlight, could be catastrophically dangerous. But with climate change roaring apace, fueling California's drought, hyper-capitalism's home base in Silicon Valley is bound to feel two major effects: out-of-control wildfires and water shortages. This is all I'm going to read of this article. I'm going to link it below and move on because there are other things I want to cover. So somebody sent me a 10-day forecast for Svalbard, which is pretty crazy. The next 10 days look like 87 degrees, 77 degrees, 74 degrees, 75 degrees, 79 degrees, 83 degrees, 82 degrees, 76 degrees, and 75 degrees. Guys, that's warm for Iceland. It's supposed to actually be around 50 degrees is the normal high. So it doesn't look good. The Arctic is obviously suffering in all kinds of ways. I just read something about, the Arctic fires in Sweden and in other places. I don't know, people are watching the Arctic ice melt, and it's inevitable plunge to zero. Will it happen this year? We don't know. We are keeping an eye on that. But meanwhile, in Florida, this is from AccuWeather.com, July 13th. Toxic blue-green algae plagues South Florida's waterways. Governor declares state of emergency. Toxic algae spreads in Florida's Lake Okeechobee. Toxic cyanobacteria, also known as blue-green algae, are once again plaguing waterways in South Florida, including the state's largest body of freshwater, Lake Okeechobee, which is also the second largest freshwater body in the contiguous United States. Since June, the pungent-smelling algae bloom has reportedly covered 90% of the lake's 730 square mile surface in less than a month's time. May's record rainfall in combination with summer warmth have contributed to the algae bloom's growth. Algae also polluted Lake Okeechobee and spread to Florida's beaches in 2016. The current issue has impacted waterways in 7 counties, including Okeechobee, Palm Beach, and St. Lucie, prompting Governor Rick Scott to issue a state of emergency for affected areas. An algae bloom is on the Caloosahatchee River at the W.P. Franklin Lock and Dam. The order allows the South Florida Water Management District and Department of Environmental Protection to waive restrictions to store water in additional areas south of Lake Okeechobee, the Sun Sentinel reported. The blue-green algae pose potential threats to the tourism economy in South Florida during its peak tourism months, and those living downstream of Lake Okeechobee are particularly concerned about the toxic algae bloom and its health threats to the U.S. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Jacksonville District reopens the floodgates on the lake, releasing water into the Caloosahatchee and St. Lucie estuaries in order to handle the risk of flooding in the region. The current conditions at Lake Okeechobee highlight the challenge of balancing the multiple threats to the public. those associated with floodwaters around the lake that are prompting water to be released, and those associated with possible downstream exposure to algal toxins in the released water containing cyanobacteria. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers said its flood risk management decision is based on the fact that a major breach of the 143-mile Herbert Hoover Dike surrounding Lake Okeechobee would threaten 37,000 people living nearby, potentially damaging homes, businesses, structures, and roads, and proving costly to remove water from flooded areas. We acknowledge the multiple challenges in the system, including the summer's extensive algal blooms, Jacksonville District Commander Colonel Jason Kirk said in a press release. Potential health impacts. Algae samples taken on July 5th at the St. Lucie Lock in Stewart revealed that the toxins present in the algae had reached dangerous levels of 154 micrograms per liter, which is 15 times higher than levels considered low risk by the World Health Organization, according to the Palm Beach Post. We are documenting the abundance of the algae at a number of storage stations along the lake and along the Caloosahatchee, and are measuring the amount and different types of toxins in the algae and water, said marine biology and ecology professor Larry Brand of the University of Miami's Rosenstiel School of Marine and Atmospheric Science. Brand said he and fellow researchers are also developing new techniques for measuring the amount of toxins present in the air and are concerned that breathing in the toxins could pose an additional health risk. Hopefully people know not to swim in the water or eat the fish, he said. While not all blue-green algae products produce toxins, exposure to certain types cause health problems, including itchy skin, diarrhea, allergic reactions, difficulty breathing, and nausea or vomiting, according to the New York State Department of Health. As long as the conditions that encourage bloom formation are present, nutrient pollution, high temperatures, and relatively calm waters, this threat will persist. And lastly, I'm going to end with this article. Sunscreen for cows. This is from The Guardian by Fiona Harvey, July 13th. Sunscreen for cows. UK farmers struggle to cope with heat wave. Traditional farming shows its benefits as stone barns and hedgerows provide cattle with relief from the heat. Sunscreen and wader service for cows, and a renewed appreciation for traditional countryside structures such as stone barns and hedgerows are some of the modern and ancient ways in which farmers are trying to cope with the heat wave. Record temperatures and a lack of rainfall have drawn comparisons with 1976, the UK's biggest drought in living memory. Forecasters say the hot weather is set to continue probably for weeks. While modern livestock sheds are usually cooled with fans and sprinklers, ancient stone barns are also effective in the hot weather, according to Robert Martin, a dairy farmer with a 120-strong herd near Carlisle. Their design means a good circulation of air, and the stones help moderate the temperature inside. The cows are very comfortable in them. Martin has also kept many stands of trees on his farm, which is benefiting the cows. Across the UK, much of this traditional shelter has been reduced, as farmers have removed or drastically cut back hedgerows to make for more efficient use of farm machinery. Without their shade, cattle face a hard time, as they are particularly sensitive to sunlight. Liz Bowles, head of farming at the Soil Association, said, "We advise farmers to ensure there is adequate shade for livestock to escape the heat, which is why trees on farmland are so important, particularly at this time of year." Cows, like many humans, also lose appetite in the heat. Martin has got round this by delivering feed right up to each animal to encourage them to eat and drink. Usually at this time of year, they are self-feeding in the fields. But at this moment, I'm having to do it, he said. He's using winter feed or silage to ensure the cows have enough food and moisture. Martin, who is also national treasurer of the Tenant Farmers Association, said farmers across the country were doing much the same. Farmers are very good at looking at their livestock, after their livestock. Every farmer will be doing their best, putting in the extra work. I don't think there will be issues for animal welfare. All right, that's all I'm going to read of this article. I'm going to link this below. Lastly, I want to just check out this article covering more of the wildfires in the Arctic Circle. Arctic Circle burns as record heat broils in Northern Europe. This is from today. An intense heat wave is fueling wildfires across an enormous swath of Northern Europe, with at least 11 fires raging within the Arctic Circle. Sweden is the worst hit country, with at least 40 fires burning as of Wednesday. Multiple communities have been evacuated and thousands of people have been directed to stay indoors with their vents and windows closed to avoid harmful smoke inhalation. This is definitely the worst year in recent times for forest fires, Mike Peacock, a university researcher and local resident, told The Guardian. Whilst we get them every year, 2018 is shaping up to be excessive. European officials have stated that the risk of more fires continues as long as temperatures stay above 86 degrees Fahrenheit, and that such warm weather is in the forecast for the coming days. This is insane, y'all. Several Arctic area locations have experienced record high temperature this year. Helsinki hit 86 degrees Fahrenheit, 30 degrees C for the first time in 8 years, and the northernmost city in Finland, Utsjoki, experienced an all-time record high this summer of 92 degrees Fahrenheit, 33.3 degrees Celsius. Climate scientists have said the Arctic and other areas that once experienced very little fire activity, as in none, are becoming more vulnerable to wildfires. What we're seeing with this global heat wave is that these areas of fire susceptibility are now broadening. The moors in northwest England and now these Swedish fires, a consequence of that. Such carbon-dense ecosystems experience, when such carbon-dense ecosystems experience aridity and heat, there's a source of ignition, lightning or people, fires will happen. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for opening your mind always to new ideas, and going on this ride with me. There are many things to consider in this problem that is fast encroaching on our normalcy, on our way of life. I'm just trying to bring all the things into the fold, and I hope that y'all can appreciate that. If you'd like to support this channel, you can do so at the links below. Hope to be back tomorrow with another video. Until next time, peace.